Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Kiana's Shelf. Before we get into tonight's topic, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Like the video, share the video. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been many people weighing in on the Iran-United States conflict, the U.S.-Israel versus Iran conflict. And one thing that I noticed is that social media influencers, social media commentators, academics are making predictions. One academic that I watched was Professor Liang. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And he made a prediction about the war. He predicted that the United States would lose the war. Some other commentators have predicted, such as past CIA agents, as well as past people working in the war. Past colonels and past Army veterans have predicted that the United States will win the war. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make a prediction myself. I'll be doing this weekly, so these predictions are going to be weekly about how each side will perform in the war. Donald Trump has given us a 4 to 6 week time frame, and so I'll try and make a prediction for each week. Now, I have made some predictions in the past that have come to pass, and then of course my Ukraine-Russia prediction didn't necessarily come to pass. I predicted that it would end at the beginning of the year, but it really did not end at the beginning of the year. It's rather slowed down because, of course, it's a war of attrition, so it is slowing down. And so I'm trying this again to predict exactly how I feel the conflict will go. Before we get into this video, I need to give a disclaimer that I don't have any intelligence when it comes to military intelligence. I don't have military intelligence. I don't have any experience with working in military. So these predictions that I'm making is just analyzing the conflict, and it is going to be on a week by week basis. So it's going to start on Sunday and then end on Saturday. So I will start with the state of the conflict, each side's strengths, each side's weaknesses, self-fulfilling prophecies such as propaganda, exertion, expenses, and then the outcome. So this week, I predict that it's going to be about getting access to resources. And this is for both sides, whether that is access to artillery, access to armaments, access to more funds to fund this war. That is the state of where we're going to be at next week. I'm starting with the United States and its strengths. So one of the strengths that I predict that the United States will do well in next week is that it will have experts with different skills who are committed to bringing down Iran. So this is going to be quite different from where Iran stands. The United States is going to have more experts who has that is more skilled in these kinds of conflicts, working together to bring down Iran and to cause the demise of that nation. Another strength of the United States is I predict that the United States will reconcile with a nation that it fell out of sync with. Now, we have seen that the United States has reconciled with or made attempts to reconcile with South America, with Central America, and that was at this Southcom conference. But I think my prediction is forward-looking, so this could be a new well, not necessarily new, but a nation that is not within South America and a nation that is not within Central America, that it will reconcile with, and that nation will aid the United States in its war against Iran. I also predict that the United States is going to use soft control. So basically, this soft control is going to be controlling how much weapons Iran produces. We already know that the United States is already doing that, but there is going to be, I think, this is going to be a major element for the United States next week. And I don't think that there is much that Iran is going to be able to do about this. So this soft control is already in the making, and the United States is basically wearing down Iran with, its, I guess, its air power, its air resources, its weapons in the air, and this is significantly impacting Iran. This also allows the U.S. to reflect on its progress, to see what develops from here. So next week, there is going to be a period where the United States is reflecting on all that it has done to see where to go from here on out. And that reflection period is going to be very important. And so I think that that is what the United States is going to do. It's going to take some time out to really reflect on not making any mistakes in this war. So where there has been mistakes already made, the United States next week is really going to reflect on not making any mistakes. Another prediction that I have for next week is that one of the allies of the United States, who the United States feels very close to, is going to betray it, and that is a nation. So the way that I see this playing out is that the United States will make amends with a nation that it fell out with, and then lose the confidence of a nation it was once very close to. So it's a gain and then it's a loss, right? Or a loss and then a gain. Now, here are the United States' weaknesses for this coming week. Some of its soldiers are going to be reckless, regrettably. So in this war, we know that often happens. Some soldiers are, one of the Professor Lang used the word hubris, so arrogant, and that may reflect, of course, in this war that I see, is that some of the U.S. soldiers will become very arrogant, and that will be a weakness, and that will result in it making mistakes. So maybe it will feel as if, it knows enough or it can do enough, and then that will result in a miscalculation. There is also a weakness that I predict, that some of the soldiers will lose interest in the war. Now, there has already been news reports that have reported and argued that Trump will lose interest in the war and his attention will be directed towards something else. That's a possibility with this prediction that I have next week. There will be some soldiers that will lose a bit of interest and may refuse to participate. So I predict that there are going to be some soldiers in the United States that will decline to be a part of this war. Now, we've seen recently where there was a soldier that protested in one of, or a Marine that protested in one of the meetings in the United States. And that situation went viral, and that could be something that causes disillusionment when it comes to other military officials or other army officials partaking in this war. Now, the self-fulfilling prophecy for the United States. So the United States probably will engage in some propaganda that people in Iran are oppressed. We already know that there are people in Iran that do feel oppressed and want regime change, but I think that the United States will amp this up. Unfortunately, I predict that the United States will give more responsibility to some soldiers, more than they can handle. So maybe in specific areas, not enough soldiers will want to partake, of course, in this war. And so that will result in the United States giving more responsibility to some soldiers that may not be equipped to take on that responsibility. Another thing is that the United States will probably choke the resources of Iran, and that could be, this falls under the self-fulfilling prophecy. So this could be something that the United States does in retaliation for something that Iran does. Now, the outcome for the United States for next week is that the United States will come up with some new ideas on how to win the war. Now, these are going to be innovative and different from possibly anything that we've seen before. And I predict that when this happens, this will be a plus for the United States. With Iran, these are the strengths for Iran. Iran has cooperation from religious communities. Now, there has been Professor Liang that has predicted this as well, that Iran will have cooperation from religious communities. But my prediction extends beyond the country of Iran. I think that Iran will have the cooperation of other religious communities. Other religious communities will possibly weigh in next week and support Iran just by virtue of it being a country that is religious. And also, as we know, this strike happened during Ramadan, so there is a possibility that that could impact other religious communities, because that for some religions feel that that is sacrosanct. These periods of like Ramadan are sacrosanct. And so my prediction is that there will be sympathy as well as empathy from differing religious communities for Iran. I also predict as a strength that it also has cooperation from friends that are pretending not to support Iran. So there are certain nations that are pretending as if they don't support Iran. So my prediction next week is that there are going to be nations that do support Iran. But that is, I think, the big secret, is that on the surface, there is this view that they are against Iran, but they are really in support of Iran. They're helping Iran from behind the scenes. Another strength is that people are eager to learn a new skill to help Iran in the war. So my prediction is that there are going to be more people, more than ever, that's going to be eager to help Iran win this war, help Iran with new skills. Now, this is not going to be as strong as with the United States. The United States has people working together to possibly bring down Iran with really a strong skill set. The difference here is that there's already a skill set with the United States and the people that it has working with it. And with Iran, there is going to be people that are more apprentice, right? They're amateurs and they are eager to learn this in a short period of time. And that is not necessarily a weakness. Again, this shows up in the strength category, which means that these people that are learning this could be quick learners. They could come on to learn this very quickly. Another strength that Iran has is that it will reconcile with a state it has once estranged itself from. This is kind of like with the United States. With the United States, it will lose an ally and then it will gain an ally. Here with Iran, it will gain an ally. So I predict this for both, where the United States will actually fall out with an ally that it has once trusted. It will gain it will reconcile too with an ally. Here with Iran. Iran will, I guess, wake up the energy to an allied nation. Now, here are the weaknesses for Iran. Its intel is amateur compared to the United States. So I know that Professor Lian already predicted this, that the United States has better technology than United States, and Israel has better technology than, of course, Iran. But I am predicting that the way in which Iran uses its intel is going to present itself as a detriment to it. So the way how it's going about its intel, what it's surveilling, what it's paying attention to, will be a detriment to it. Another weakness is that it's not producing enough artillery fast enough. So that is another weakness for Iran. I predict next week, like, there is going to be this hope to produce more artillery, more armaments, and that is going to be very difficult for it to do. Another weakness that I predict is that next week, more soldiers in Iran are going to have narrow escapes. So some will just escape like that, and then others, it's going to be very difficult for them to escape. This shows up in the weakness category, so that means that the United States will actually succeed in its surgical targets, pinpointing exactly who it seeks to attack. My prediction there is that it will be difficult for Iran to escape under this kind of scrutiny. Another weakness is that, let's see. No, it may use propaganda. So this is now the self-fulfilling prophecy category. And I predict that it may use propaganda more. So it may engage in putting out into social media propaganda about more soldiers that are participating in the war than it really is. So we might hear Iran gloating about more soldiers that are fighting in the war, and that could result in it putting more out than is necessary to fight in this war. So in one aspect, I predict that it might gloat about more soldiers being present in the war, and the number that it has, of course, it'll put a number out there, but it's not going to be the number that it claims. Now, for next week, this is my prediction for next week, and this is going to be like the outcome for Iran, is that something significant is really going to change on the Iranian front. This is a major event that I think may even help it. And I think that my prediction is that what Iran is going to attempt to do is it will attempt to influence public opinion through radicalization. Now my prediction here is not violent or extremist. The prediction is that the radicalization will be through like professors or students, where there is propaganda campaigns on universities within the United States or on social media, people that will cause a feeling of ennui and disillusionment within the Western populations about this war. So these campaigns are going to be coming, of course, from Iran. We've seen this happen as well. Like, we've seen some professors from Iran speak to Americans and really change the opinions and thoughts about this war, changing the opinions and the thoughts of Americans about this war. We've seen Iranian professors hold interviews with Americans. So I predict that there is going to be an increase in this. I think that Iran will see that this is successful, and then it will engage in more of this. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my prediction for next week. This is going to be from Sunday, tomorrow, to Saturday of next week. Let me know if you have a prediction. Let me know if you think that these predictions are not efficacious or not going to come to pass, but we'll see next Sunday if it will. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk to you next time. Bye-bye.